Okay, I guess let's start. So hi, I'm Titas Norkūnas. I'll start by answering a question right there, which says, how are you? So I'm a little bit anxious. And can you hear me in the back? Yeah? Perfect. So my name is Titas Norkūnas, and I work at Vinted. I'm the SRE lead there. And Vinted is a pre-loved fashion marketplace that's running in 11 countries with 14 million people in its community. And it's backed by Excel, Insight Venture Partners, and Hubbard Burda Media by $60 million. So as I said, I'm Titas, and I like a few things. I like to build systems, either by programming or by working with people. I like music, fun, efficiency, and I also like growing some plants. And today I'm going to tell you a story. My story begins with me joining Vinted this January. This January, after 6 years of working remotely from various parts of the world, traveling and working from cafes and home, I joined an office. And I'm a developer for a product team. I'm a little bit anxious at work, just like I am in this presentation. Like, I cannot always work amongst colleagues. Sometimes I have to find a place that's quiet and sit down and hide out in a meeting room. Sometimes it's okay. So I start as an engineer. And let me interrupt my story here to tell you something that I find really, really cool. And the cool thing is, there was this writer named couldnt that had an idea that most of the stories in the world, in fact, all of the stories in the world, can be drawn on a graph, that these stories have shapes. And what he proposed was that you would put fortune on the y-axis. So meaning good fortune is here, bad fortune is here. So everything good. Happiness, heaven, castles, princesses go there. And everything bad, dragons, hell, sadness, and productivity go down. And on the x-axis, you would have the beginning and the end. So some of the common shapes of the stories that you will definitely recognize. One's called Man in a Hole, which is pretty simple. You start by having somebody who's a little bit above average in fortune, so you don't start off with somebody who's depressing. And then that person gets into a hole, faces some trouble, and then gets out of it again, and is a bit happier for having overcome his issues, for the experience. Very common in Hollywood movies and such. Another type of story is boy meets girl, which basically is you start with somebody really, really average, and then that person finds something wonderful that he really likes, then loses it, and then gets it back forever. So my story today is following the boy meets girl shape. So what's going to happen is I'm going to find something that I really, really like, then I'm going to lose it and get really miserable, and then hopefully I'll find it again. Okay, so where was I? It was January, and I was working in Vinted. I was really average, right? So now I need to meet someone, I guess. And for that, we have to fast forward to spring. And in spring, I'm doing quite well. I'm churning out features for the product team. And every other week, we have this guild day at Vinted, where developers are able to work on the systems that they like. And I'm working on this background jobs system, which is running on 6 servers, and it has lots of spikes there. And I know that if I could even out the spikes, this system could be running on 3 servers instead of 6. But I don't have time to do this. I need a third arm. Conveniently, in the spring, Vinted decides to run an internship program. And I get to pick from 2 people to be my interns. So once graduate from a university, one of the top engineering universities in the UK, It's one. And another one's this 17-year-old kid from Klaipėda whose homework is 200 lines in Python. Works though. Which one do you guys think I should pick? Who thinks I should pick the UK student? Some people like the UK student, all right. And who thinks I should pick the kid from Klaipėda? Okay. So I pick Ignas. And Ignas is very curious, very motivated, and he wants to spend his summer building something and getting as much real-world experience as possible for him. I established some rules. First rule is, I only have 10 to 20% of my time for this mentorship thing. So we're gonna have to do in this time. And the second thing is, I would love for this internship to pay for itself. And here's how, Ignas. We're going to work on the queue system. We're going to set a goal to reduce the server count by 3, and we're going to even out the spikes in 3 months. And then this system will be, cost efficient, and it has paid for the internship. Ignas agrees, and then we set out our first, short-term goal, which is we want to look into why our Elasticsearch indexing causes this much load, this much stress on the system. So Ignas works away. We talk every morning for about 20 minutes, gives me an update about what he's learned, what he's been working on. So if he figures out that for every entity that we save in the database, we trigger not one event to index this entity, but a handful. So why is that, Ignas? Goes out again, works a bit, and finds out that we have this auto transaction mechanism disabled in Ruby on Rails, which means that every time we save an entity and it saves its additional entities, what happens is many updates are triggered, many jobs are queued. Can we re-enable this mechanism? Apparently not. Our database deadlocks if we do that. Can we find another way? And Ignas finds that we can't find another way. And his solution to the problem basically is take the first event, dismiss any other event in the 3-second interval that comes with the same parameters, and then after 3 seconds with a 3-second lag, just index it. The solution works well, the elastic load is reduced. We work like this for 2.5 months. Ignas is happily churning out code, getting to know new people, working with everyone basically. In 2.5 months, he's ready to face the big challenge. He goes and sits by the SRE team, which are seen as like these sort of grumpy old men by most developers, who keep pointing at Failboat and laughing at the inefficiencies of our application. And they do have red eyes for some reason, not in this picture, but in reality. So Ignas sits with them for a few days, makes friends with them, and eventually removes the 3 servers. We're both hyped. We're loving it. We achieved a nice goal. And his internship is going to pay for itself in a couple of months. I want to cherish this moment for a bit. This is a celebration. We're both very happy now. And you know what's going to happen next, right? This seems like a high point in my presentation. So now I'm going to lose something, and then that's probably going to be the intern because he's 3 months in, and I'm going to get really miserable. Then I'm going to climb out of it again, find something, rediscover something that I really like. It might be the intern, it might be something else. By the way, guys, do you know which one was Ignas? Who thinks it was the UK student? Nobody thinks it was the UK student anymore. Okay, so it's the last Friday of summer. We wave goodbye to Ignas, who has to go back to school in Klaipėda to face the 12th grade. And next Monday, our management team announces that we're going to have a new strategy. We're going to double down on our Germany market, and we're going to open up our model, which used to be, we used to charge for every transaction, meaning that everybody who wanted to do a sale or buy something on the system paid, a little bit. And that was not a growth-friendly strategy. And the management team decided that it's time to open up the model and have a growth-friendly strategy, which is ads and added services based, meaning that people can only pay for what they like, but the model is basically freemium. The plan sounds quite good. Sounds good. But to do that, we have to make 20% of our folks redundant. That devastates everyone. Second thing that happens on the same day, our SRE lead, our current SRE team lead at the time, decides that he will quit. And our head of engineering, Mindaugas Mozuras, this guy right here, hello, offers me the opportunity. And I hesitate, really. I'm not sure if I want to face this challenge. It seems like a big challenge. The SRE folks are old and grumpy. They're more senior than me as IT professionals. I've never led an operations team before. Hell, I never worked in an operations team before. I've led an intern, yes. I've led some developers when I was working remotely. But is that enough? In the meantime, our strategy is working nicely. We opened up the model, and we have lots of growth now, which means that our system is starting to show cracks under this load. Whenever we do a deployment, we bump our cache, and whenever we bump our cache, we face a lot of slow queries, and the system slows to cripple for like 1 or 2 minutes. Inspired by Ignas, who was very motivated and took on a really big challenge and delivered very nice work, and with some encouragement from Mindaugas, who says like, yeah, you're the best candidate I have for this job, please take it. I go and say, yes, I'm going to face the challenge. So I work alongside Nerijus for some time. I work alongside the old lead, and I learned some of the tricks of the trade. And I also see that developers are afraid of Chef. They keep talking about something that they dub Chef avoidance-driven development. That doesn't seem very inspiring. So 2 weeks pass, I work alongside this lead, and it's his last day, and on his last day, tells me a joke about 3 envelopes. Do you guys know the joke? Everybody working at Vinted should know the joke. So the joke goes like this. An old boss leaves 3 envelopes containing advice to his replacement, and he goes, open up each letter when you face a crisis. So the new manager faces his first crisis, opens up the first envelope, finds a letter that says, blame everything on me, fix it. Does just that. He blames everything on the old boss, and while everybody's angry at him, fixes it. Second crisis comes, opens up the second letter. The second letter says the same thing. It says, blame it on me, fix it. Does just that. Works out fine. Works for a bit. He's, a confident lead. He's been with the company for a year now. And the third big crisis comes. And he remembers the last envelope containing valuable advice. So he opens up the envelope, looks at the advice, and the letter now says, well, now it's your time to write 3 letters, man. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to tell. So, the first day on my own was the worst day I ever had at Vinted. Starts with me arriving at the office, grabbing a shot of espresso, and turning on Slack. And on Slack, I see this. It says that Vinted, this tech startup is making 35 people redundant. And this company called Varčionių Keramika, which is a company that I guess makes tiles for your bathroom, is going out of business and letting everybody go. So that puts a dent in my mood. Then I face my first one-on-ones. In the first one-on-one, I talk to a teammate who comes around with this huge plan, this huge 3-page plan about this core web split initiative. And in Vinted, we run on Ruby on Rails, and we have this big monolith application that has both backend and web component smashed together. And he wants to split them apart, right? He wants to have a backend that's only API, and he wants to have web app like an iOS and an Android app. And this is a huge document, something that I've seen for the first time. It has a list of benefits, like 10 or so benefits. It has a list of stakeholders. It has his reach to the stakeholders. I'm sitting there overwhelmed. I have no idea what to say. I have no idea where to start with this document. And I'm useless to this person. I go to the second one-on-one and sit with an engineer who's been with us for 4 years, and he tells to me that I want to quit this company. I got bored. I've been here for quite a bit, and now I have an offer. I want to go somewhere else. And I sit there devastated. When I go out of this meeting, I think about what I can do for this team, and I find nothing. I have a teammate that's quitting. I have a teammate with a huge plan where I don't even know where to begin. I can see the tasks they are working on. With the previous lead, we looked at the tasks, and I figured out, individual things that they were doing, and it made sense. But I felt like I couldn't see the forest. I saw the trees, but I couldn't see the forest. I go back home, only to find that my plans are horribly undernourished for weeks now. And while I'm throwing my orchids out, I remember that the deadline to write a description for this presentation is looming. But at that point, this doesn't really add much. This doesn't really add much. And do you know, guys, what happens when this doesn't add much? It means we're at rock bottom. There are bad things about being at rock bottom. You have many problems to solve. I have no idea how to set goals for this team. I have no idea how to deal with the red eye situation. I have no idea what to say to this person about his plan. I have no idea what to do with the person who's going to quit. But one thing about rock bottoms is there's only one way out of it, and that's up. So I have to face my problems and solve it, and find something really nice again. By the way, what's that going to be? Because I don't think I'm getting my intern back, right? He's back in school. He's reading Altorių šešėlis now. So what I think made me really enjoy the moments at Vinted while I was working with the intern was our success and collaboration. So I think the thing that I lost might be this Nice concept of collaboration and reaching success with it. Anyhow, let's see what happens. So where was I in the story? Was going to write the description for the presentation. And the description I come up with, which I thought was somewhat catchy, went something along the lines of managing a 17-year-old intern at Vinted, which goes through pathetic uptime times, layoffs, and cash-saving decisions while being an SRE lead. And this might or might not be a story with a happy ending. So I showed this to my new team. And they get mad. They look at me and say, "Yeah? Are you calling our work pathetic?" And my heart sinks to my feet. I have no idea. I did not want to offend anybody. Definitely not my team. So I come back with this. I'm not calling your work pathetic, guys, at all. I think you're all doing great work. You're doing so many things for the developers. You're manning the failboat. You're setting up new services for them. You're migrating our application for all the services to work with IP version 6. Lots of cool things you're doing. But the uptime situation is pathetic. And at that point, we realize what's the first goal is going to be for this team. We are going to fix the uptime situation. So in our planning, we come up with this idea that we should ask product teams for help. We should ask product teams to give us a developer for a day, maybe on a rotating schedule. And they would man the failboat, and they would learn how to set it up accordingly to our SRE standards, which is, failboat should adhere to the alerting, ticketing, logging notion, which is it should only have things that a human should react to. If it's an alert, you should solve it immediately. If it's something that shouldn't be done immediately, it's made into a ticket and addressed at the appropriate time. And anything that doesn't require human input should be in logging. Shouldn't wake anybody up, basically. And that sounds like a job that I can do. It requires to write a proposal and to persuade the product owners. So I write my proposal, I send it to them, and I go to pitch this idea to the product owners, the failboat captain. And once I get to the part where I say, so we're going to ask for a developer for a day, they go, like, what? Was this in the proposal? At which point I realize they haven't read the proposal, and I need something to convince them. But luckily I have an ace up my sleeve, because I do have an alternative to offer them. And the alternative is, guys, we can also do this by the book. Actually, by this SRE book written by folks at Google. So what they do is they set a service level objective for their uptime, which in our case is going to be 3 nines, 99.9% availability. And you're way past this. You're way past this, 0.1 budget. And if you want to do any risky changes to the application, which is any deploy, you can't. Once you have your budget back, you can do it again. And just for some context, we do hundreds of deployments every day at Vinted. So, the friendly alternative, where we don't stop the train and where we all work together, or you are assholes to us and we're assholes to you back. Which one do you like? So clearly they liked the friendly approach. Gladly, I guess. Yes, the red eyes are because they're overworked. And because they are being woken up at night. So the failboat captain comes in and starts addressing the issues in the failboat. And I see that once developers start sitting with the SRE folks, they start getting friendlier. I hear chef avoidance-driven development much less than I used to hear before. And the SRE folks are happier too. So with this short-term goal, we addressed some of the issues, but now we need a longer-term goal. And in Vinted, we do that by using this framework called OKRs. And OKR stands for Objectives and Key Results. An objective is something inspirational that makes you get out of bed and do stuff. And key results make it quantifiable. So we come up with an objective that's support product to have the best January ever at Vinted. And our key results are good uptime and decreasing our infrastructure cost by 20%. With this newfound inspiration of being able to set goals, I face a new round of one-on-ones. I faced a teammate that had this huge plan. So we look at his plan. And some sections are overwhelming, but some sections are one line only, like this maybe important section titled costs. It just has one sentence in it. So what about costs? Are they, have you done any work estimating them? So we dive into that. We look into this initiative from the cost perspective. We try to see it as an investment. And what we both realize is that this is a big investment. That will not help our current goals. That will not help our current objective. It will not help the key results. So we decide to put this on a shelf for a bit and wait for our new CPO to join the company and then make this strategic decision. And in the meantime, we're going to focus on the captain thing and make our team, our SRE team, sleep more. I go to the second one-on-one, and I face the guy who was going to quit. A week ago, I gave him a speech that I thought might change his mind. And he spent 1 week thinking. And on Monday, he changes his mind. He said, yes, I will stay with the company. And then on Tuesday, just before planning, he says, Titas, I don't know. I'm still doubting. At which point we decide, your career is important, and you don't feel like you're doing, extraordinary work here anymore. Tried to quit before in the spring sometime, and he got offered more money and stayed, but now the motivation from that is gone. And we both agree that it's, the best thing for him to move on from this company and find something that really, really excites him. And now, the next day at Vinted is going to be my best day in this company so far. So what happened was, I wake up in the morning and I have a whole day full of chores. It has nothing related with my work. So I just pop into chats and see what is everybody doing. And the captain and the SRE team are all working on the uptime, which is nice. So I run off and do my chores. And about 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm free. I decide to pop over to the office and see and recap. I go to the office. Everybody's leaving, and I turn on Slack and I see what's in the chats. And I read the transcript. And guess what happened? Everybody was super nice to each other. Everybody collaborated. Not only the captain, but developers jumped in. And they all addressed the issue. First, they found the symptoms. They mitigated the symptoms. Then they went looking for the root cause. They found the root cause. They were attacking it from two different perspectives, from the SRE perspective and from the app perspective. And I'm sitting there and I'm really proud of this team. Really proud of what they have been doing. And then I go back home just to find my orchids blooming. And after that, when I see the blooms, I think about my intern, about Ignas. And his last words he said to me, which were, I asked him in our last one-on-one, "What's after school, Ignas?" And he said, "Well, Titas, it's either MIT or Vinted," which made me really happy. So that's the end. Thank you for listening. I hope you were interested. And now questions. That's out conveniently. Did I hire a girl instead? Not yet. How is the story? Does anybody have a comment about that? Anything in particular?
Was the guy leaving the problem?
Was the guy leaving what? It is always a problem. But if somebody, you know, is not engaged, it's better to have somebody that's really committed. I'm sure we will find a girl to hire. Anyhow, so thank you for listening, and catch me if you want to chat about anything.